Hey guys, it's Konpeki here, and as you may know, a lot of my videos focus on aim, movement, and mechanics. And yes, that stuff matters a lot, but game sense is just as important and it really makes a big difference. For example, understanding good positioning and map control can be much more impactful than having good aim and winning you rounds. So for that reason, I taught a lesson on map control theory and how to easily win games with info inside our IRP community as part of the weekly office hours that I host. So if you've been overlooking this part of the game, this video might be the wake-up call you've needed. I've talked about this a lot, but I really want to use Corrode as an example to draw more comparisons. If we take a look at Haven, right? The reason why A main is the most important part of the map to contest is because if we take a look, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lanes in the map. Right? And so yes, you can contest mid, but the thing is you have to worry about both window and this grass area, right? Whereas over on A main, if you just contest this choke point right here, you are essentially eliminating the need to watch one of these lanes. Either you have a player short, then you don't need someone watching long, right? Or you have someone looking from long, you don't need someone short. This effectively allows you to shift at least one player over back to B. Essentially just playing 4 towards B and C and only having one player towards A. So if you're this single player now on A, either you can play an off angle like this, as long as you have someone here, you get early info if the attackers do decide to come back, or the rest of your team who rotated off to then come back onto A by the time the enemies scaled up long and short. And I mean, even better, if your Cypher, let's say, decides to early cam deep into long, for instance, too, it effectively does the same thing. You guys now only have to worry about enemies leaning towards A and B. If you also get info of C long, and you guys also are contesting for this A main space, then by a process of elimination, enemies can only be mid and spawn, right? Bind is interesting because there's 1, 2, 3, 4 lanes, right? If you do not contest for either one of these extremities as defenders, it becomes extremely difficult for you guys to actually hold the site, because people can easily just teleport, they can fight for long, they could fight for hookah, and then decide, okay, we're just gonna have a lurker go shower, and then everyone takes TP and goes A. If let's say you're playing Cypher, you don't need to do this sight cam all the time. You can maybe throw a trip in hookah like this, throw a cam down long, and it basically sees whether or not at the start of round people are walking into hookah or coming out of long. And so if they're not here, you can easily put even 4 people towards A. And once this camera makes contact, then you can have maybe another one of your players come back towards B to help you out. But you have this trip holding hookah, you have this cam as well getting info here. So, in case they even TP, you have util to stall for your teammates to also come back and help you out. By eliminating this whole long space by just putting a cam there, or let's say you're playing Sky or Sova, just by throwing a dart at the start, flashing early on, you can at least get some info that they're not here, which means you only have this hookah choke point to really worry about, or shower and short, right? So the less lanes you have to be aware of, the easier it is going to be for defenders. And let's say you contest for long, and at the start of round 2, your other teammates decide to go smoke like this, and if enemies are not using utility to get out either, you guys have so much control, where if enemies are actually deciding to come hookah or something, right? Because now you have short control, you can safely actually fight short with nades, you can teleport, right? And basically crunch this space. So that's why on Bind, as defenders, if you guys are not fighting for any of these lanes at the start of round, you're also going to have a really hard time. These macro concepts might make sense, but when you try to apply the theory in game, you might still not get the results you're wishing for. The problem is that everyone struggles with specific bottlenecks, and unfortunately, I can't personally find and fix your specific issues with these videos. For that reason, I spent the last 4 years perfecting my own coaching program, where I work with Radiant and VCT coaches to help players improve quickly. We coach players both one-on-one and in group settings with scrims and different custom drills to train them in every aspect. So if you want direct hands-on help and want to gain 500 RR in 10 weeks guaranteed or your money back, click the link below to book a free call with me or one of our coaches, where we'll take a look at your tracker together and see if you'd be a good fit. Now, back to the lesson. Let's go now to Corrode. We talked about how mid is really important. Why do you think mid is so important? And you guys said, well, it's because for defenders, it allows for a faster rotate, right, over to A. Yes, that is also true, But again, like, think about the map theory here. If we contest A main, it eliminates 2 lanes. So if we take a look at Corrode and we look at mid, if we contest mid at the very start of round, you don't have to worry about these 2 lanes, and it makes it very easy for you guys to just hold A and B from just these choke points alone. That's the reason why Evad said mid is very important in this map, because yes, like if you do have all this mid space control, not only does it allow for faster rotates, but the amount of info that you guys get and the ease of holding down the sides goes up way higher. Because let's say now you lose mid control, right? A is one of the easiest sites to hold if you have mid control, because if you don't have to worry about enemies coming in through connector, as defenders you can have players anywhere here in this space like holding this choke point. As soon as you just throw a smoke, like there's just so much open space here that for most teams trying to get through this choke point, it's going to be really hard. They're going to have to use a lot of util just to get out. But the moment you lose this mid control, it becomes a lot riskier to play this area, all right, as a defender. And that means now there's actually multiple lanes that split up for attackers to come into A from. So that forces you to actually have to fall back on site, and it's like way harder to defend the site. We can also technically use this map theory here from Haven that I showed you over onto A site here. Like if we lose control over A main, what happens? There's more lanes open, and so as a defender, as you fall back onto site, it becomes harder and harder to hold, right? Because let's say you're here, now you have both sides to watch out for, and it's scary, right? But if we had been able to fight successfully this A main choke point, then it's so much easier to contain enemies inside this choke point versus you lose this choke point and now like they can be everywhere. So I would argue that definitely mid, and even like as a attacker, if you can apply even pressure to like break through the smoke, like it adds so much pressure onto the defender. Any questions on this?
No, on this map, but I want to know about the sunset, especially the A side. Do you think it's a good idea to fight?
So that's a really great observation. Doesn't this site look very similar to this site right here?
Yeah,
how it branches out. So it's the same concept even on sunset, right? The moment defenders lose this A main space, it becomes a little trickier now, right? Because now you have to worry about elbow and A main. And so yes, you can try to do your best by throwing a one way here, smoking this off. And what is nice about A side on sunset is you still have a decent amount of cover to still like play around if you are getting crunched, as opposed to road. Like there's not too many boxes you can hide from. It's just these 2 boxes. So that's also another thing to worry about. If you, let's say, fight for A main early on, you throw this one way, you have a blind ready or neon stuns ready or breach stun, gecko flash, like whatever util you guys have, just getting this early line of info is going to be very beneficial, because if they're not here over on A, then you know for a fact your whole team can then lean towards mid and B side. And if it is confirmed that they're taking mid, then it also allows you for a fast flank, or even just like breaking a trip here and applying pressure on the defenders to have to slow down their take, or they just have to like speed it up, which actually funnels them more into your team. So what I like to do, I just throw a very early cam to get info into B main, and I ask a teammate to close the door for me, or if they're not available, I just put a trip here market, and if I don't see anyone, then literally I am already like rotating off towards A. It's just that simple. Same thing with Haven, right? Like with a deep cam, if I don't see anyone, then I can literally just rotate and lean towards A and B. Let's go on the set. I can do an early cam window. If I don't see anybody, then I'm already just going to start rotating towards mid and A. Now that you know how defenders should be optimally playing, if they're not playing optimally, or if they are playing optimally, let's talk about how to adapt and play around both of those situations. So let's just say defenders are playing for early map control to make their lives a lot easier. Then what do you guys think would be the counterplay to that?
Other lanes should be weak, especially the side where Sentinel plays. So either rush it and then fight for their deep CT, or maybe just take space and then they might flank, let them flank, and then we switch sides, something like that.
So you're saying if they're fighting, let's say, a lot towards A, then it means B or like mid, it's going to be weak side. Yeah, that's good. That's good. The whole point of defaulting is not to really get picks necessarily, but it's really just to get info, bait out utility, right? And staying alive just so you guys can put the pieces of the puzzle together to know which site is going to be the most optimal to take. If defenders are constantly fighting for A every single time, there's no point in you guys trying to trade utility just to take this space early on. It's better just to wait it out, have them waste it, and you guys still have all of your utilities still available. So when you guys do decide to hit A again after cutting noise or something like that, you guys have way more utility than the other team. So it's going to be harder for the enemy team to retake the site. One thing to keep in mind though, remember, like if someone on the other side of the map is still getting deep info when you guys are just playing quiet, sitting back on A main, no matter how much you wait out the util, it's still not going to be as effective as opposed to you guys actually getting a little bit of map control on all parts of the lanes, breaking this utility. And now the defenders do have more question marks. They have way more question marks around the map of where you guys are actually trying to go. And this actually forces people to spread out a little bit more on the defender side. You know, if it's Cypher, like this cam over here on A is also really good. It doesn't matter who it is, like as long as you just have like someone that is breaking this cam or breaking this util or just trying to abuse this early peak, that's good. So it's the same thing with Ascent. If you guys are just playing slow because you notice enemy team likes to throw one way, they like to fight a lot, someone needs to be here too to like break the cam or break the dart to add more question marks. Otherwise, you're just giving defenders a very easy time to get a lot of space and get a lot of info.
I had a question. So on maps like Haven, if you're playing Cypher, is it better to focus most of your trips on one site or spread them out more for information?
Personally, I spread them out more unless I notice that they're just hitting the same site over and over again. Well, then yeah, maybe like you want to switch things up and try to use both trips. But I think the amount of value I get just from getting a lot of early info is very helpful. The trips are active info. As long as like it doesn't go down, no one hits it, like you have that control.
Sometimes I have a feeling I could do more, I can play more aggressive, but I'm not trusting myself to do it because I think I should play safe, winning the round. Sometimes it's wrong to play too passive because I'm not having a team or like I get not too much input.
The only reason why you would play aggressive is if you want to apply even more pressure at that point. Usually like when you have the advantage, there's no need for you to take on more risk. This game is all about risk versus reward. So if you feel like you're at a disadvantage, then you probably have to go for slightly like riskier plays to try to equalize the situation. If your numbers are down and let's say like a 2v4, we just got the bomb down, then I probably like need to play a little bit aggressive, right? To try to like get a pick or something and then fall back, even out the numbers. Otherwise, like if it's a 4v2, you know, there's no need for me to push this. I can just play high-low with one of my teammates and that pretty much secures the round. We're doing like a early cam. Like this is pretty aggressive. If they don't break this cam, then it's a massive reward for me because now very easy for my team to know we just need to stack A or B. If this gets countered, a little bit harder now because they know I'm playing on C and maybe I have a little less utility to deal with it. Or they know I've been doing this a lot and they might punish me if let's say like they have a jet and they like dash on me or something, you know, as soon as I cam. That'd be really bad. Then I have like I don't have my gun out and stuff. It's all about risk versus reward and knowing like how you're gonna play off of that. Just always think like, what is the objective of me using this utility? Like what's the point? And you also are trying to weigh out the pros and cons. Instead of an eye like this, you can say, oh well, it recharges, you know, after 45 seconds, so I'm just gonna use it right away. But what's the con of this? They break it instantly and then what? They float out onto site, right? The only thing I have left is like a suck. But if I have a suck, you know, plus an eye to stall, that's like way better, right? So then I'd rather just use one of my dogs to get early info. Because remember, like if I eliminate this lane, they can't TP. It lets me fight short if I need to. And I think it's so much easier to hold shower as well if you don't have to worry about short. So just with one piece of utility, I know what I'm trying to do and what this piece of utility is allowing me to do. And think like, why am I using this piece of util? What is it doing for me? What are the pros and cons of using it now versus later? Alrighty guys, I have to wrap it up for today's session. Bye. Thank you guys.
Thank you.